The Pharaohs didn't just park the bus, they drove it straight through Belgium's midfield. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Joji's 5 Cents. If you haven't done it already, please show some love. Like, subscribe, share, leave those comments, and leave your 5 cents, and I'll try to get back to them as soon as possible. And now, coming back to the World Cup match, which is coming in thick and fast. And the last one, which I happened to watch, was Belgium versus Egypt. 1-1 draw. Now, if you looked at the scoreline, you'd think this was a routine World Cup draw. It should be two powerhouses, but nothing to see here because football rarely is like that. Sometimes the numbers don't say much. So that's why I'm here because for large parts of that game, Egypt didn't just compete with Belgium, they rattled them. This was supposed to be Belgium's big statement game. The Red Devils arrived with familiar names: Kevin De Bruyne, Jeremy Doku, Thibaut Courtois, a squad packed with players who've spent years proving themselves in Europe's biggest leagues. Yet somehow the same question keeps following Belgium around every major tournament. And that's why do all these individual stars never quite shine as brightly as they do together? But instead of their club tournaments, why can't they do it on an international stage for the national team? It's like assembling the Avengers, and somehow you end up with the customer service team. And that's what it's like with Belgium always. And Egypt knew exactly how to exploit that. From the opening whistle, the Pharaohs looked organized, disciplined, fearless. They weren't reckless. Neither were they desperate or did they show any sort of panic. The kind of confidence this comes because of years of AFCON battles where every match feels like a street fight, disguised as a football game, but it's actually a street fight. That's how those AFCON matches are if you haven't watched them. People often underestimate these African teams, but until they stand in front of you face to face, then you suddenly realize the pace, the physicality, the tactical discipline, and the mentality that these boys bring. They hit them all at once, and Belgium found out the hard way. In the 19th minute, Mohamed Salah does what Mohamed Salah does. He spotted an opening, he delivered that pass in, and Imam Ashur finished it brilliantly. This was his first international goal, by the way. Well done, Imam Ashur. And then suddenly, Belgium were trailing and reeling under pressure. And honestly, it didn't feel undeserved because Egypt looked sharper, hungrier, more connected. Meanwhile, Belgium was like the Belgium chocolate. They looked like they were still downloading that match update, wondering what to do. The most impressive part wasn't even that goal, it's what came after. The Egyptians, the Pharaohs, they stayed compact, they stayed disciplined, they stayed patient. They frustrated the Belgium's attacking threats, and every attack felt like it was trying to solve some sort of mathematical equation with the Belgians. They did, they turned football basically into rocket science. Doku couldn't find any space. Belgium's rhythm completely disappeared. It's like someone cut all the strings on their guitar. And the longer the match went on, the more uncomfortable the favorites became. Now, there's a moment that everyone's talking about. Minute number 66. Rudy Garcia looked at his bench, and out came the man, the myth, the legend, Romelu Lukaku. Football's equivalent of like breaking the glass in case of an emergency. That's that man. And the funniest thing here is every time people start writing off Lukaku, he somehow reappears with a new club, with a new shirt, new chapter, but it's always the same story. The man has traveled around European football so much that airport security probably recognizes him now by first name and probably like, hey, Ale, Ale, just go. Because yet for Belgium, he remains one of the few players who consistently changes games, and he did it again. Within seconds of entering, his movement and physical presence caused so much of panic inside that Egyptian box that poor Mohamed Ani turned the ball into his own net. And like that, 1-1. Just like that, Belgium were alive again. They were believing, but there's always here's the thing and here's that thing. That equalizer felt more like a rescue mission by Lukaku than a comeback. Belgium escaped. I said it in my video. I put it even on my as my captions. They escaped. Egypt didn't collapse. They continued competing. In fact, there were moments late in the game where Egypt looked likely to win, more likely to win rather than Belgium. Even their coach, I think in one of the conferences, he suggested that his side deserved more from this match than Belgium. They definitely deserve to win. And honestly, it's hard to disagree with what he said. This result continues a very familiar story for Belgium. The so called golden generation is gone. The new generation that's here right now is really talented, but talent doesn't win tournaments. Chemistry does, and identity does. And right now, Egypt looked arguably more certain than what Belgium were actually trying to do. And that's not an insult to Egypt. Trust me, that's a compliment because this wasn't a lucky draw. This wasn't some smash and grab job. This was a team actually announcing itself at the FIFA World Cup 2026. And this means that the Pharaohs have qualified unbeaten and still are unbeaten. They've built this team around the likes of Mo Salah, the guy who scored, Imam Ashur, Marmoush, the Manchester City prodigy, and now a group they that genuinely believes that they can do it on the big stage. And if Belgium underestimated before i- they even kicked the ball like the kickoff, they certainly do now. The rest of Group G won't either because the biggest lesson learned from this match isn't that Belgium dropped those points, it's that Egypt actually collected attention. This kind of tension earns teams, a view of being respected, and they certainly did that. And they are also big threats, by the way. And we as football lovers or of the game and the spirit, we love surprise packages, and Egypt are trying to become something bigger than that surprise package, but more of a contender. And after this performance, I don't see that tag being taken away from them, because if the Pharaohs haven't shown it already, they do have more chapters left to write in this tournament, and rightly so. Mark my words on that.